How do you do? My name is Alan Young. I am with Drew Brasso today, and we are going to be talking about everything hotel property management systems. The podcast series is called The Welcome Mat, and we're going to be doing more of these throughout the year. We're going to be doing product-oriented webinars, product demos, partner-based webinars. So we're looking forward to a full year of some pretty extraordinary stuff. Drew, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me, Alan.
Oh, more than happy to have you here. So, Drew, let's start with some fun stuff.
Okay.
Uh, you see, by my background, I'm the one who's dealing with a whole bunch of racing stuff because that's my passion outside of work. I see you with like a load of Star Wars and Marvel stuff behind you. So is that what you do outside of work?
Yes, I am a huge nerd. I was very upfront with my husband about that when we met. I have since turned him into a nerd, not a Star Wars nerd, but he has his own thing. But he's always amazed when he walks into my office because the little bit that you see here goes like rats around to the other all of my office, with artwork and everything from Comic Cons that I've attended and all sorts of stuff. So
So yes, a nerd personified.
yes.
100%. Awesome. Well, so outside of the nerd thing, why don't you give us some background on where you started, where you've been, and now obviously you're the product manager for Infor's hospitality management platform.
Yeah, it's crazy. If you had told me 10 years ago that this was part of you or told you that you were insane. Um, I I went to college to be a marine biologist of all things. And then when I got there, I drastically shifted and my first degree is actually in religious studies.
Wow.
Mm. I had a whole plan. There was a whole plan for master's degree in teaching and um of course, life happens, and I met my then husband, um, and he was a chef, so I got stuck in Charleston for a year, and so I started working at this little 19-room bed and breakfast, uh, just to kinda have a job until we were gonna move, and absolutely fell in love with it. The guest interaction and being able to help people enjoy Charleston the way that I can enjoy Charleston I lived there for almost 13 years before I moved here to Greenville. So I think it might have been maybe like 6 or 7 months after I started there. Went home one night and I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to go get my hospitality degree. I think this is what I want to do. And he was like, wow, that's a shift. I was- So I went, got my hospitality degree, and then I stayed at that bed and breakfast for a while. As I did that, and so I worked and got my second degree at the same time. I've done it all. I worked front desk. I did housekeeping. I've done engineering. I did night audit for like 4.5 years. Um, yeah, that was interesting times. At a hotel in the middle of downtown Charleston on the market. So even more interesting when you're doing that at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Um, and then I became a front office manager. And then we moved from, I had my daughter. Sorry, that's why we moved. Uh, I had my daughter. We have family in Greenville. So it was just the smart move for us to move here, um, to sort of get some support and lower cost of living too, obviously. Um,
Right.
Started working at the West in downtown Greenville. Was there for 5 years. Left as the director of rooms, and made my jump to Infor to the tech side. Oddly enough, through our director of housekeeping there, her sister-in-law worked for. I'm not sure if Pam is still here. Um, Worked for Infor. Went to her and said they were looking for a business analyst that had hospitality experience, like a lot of hospitality experience. Wanted to know if she was interested. And she was like, no, I'm like a year away from retirement. There's no way I'm moving careers now. But I was out. Our front office manager has kind of been like putting feelers out for a new experience. Like, if you would be interested. And I was like, I don't know anything about software development. You're insane. Like, they don't want me. She was like, apparently they do. And apparently they did because Dagny hired me. So
Awesome.
uh, it was very interesting. I was very upfront with her that I knew nothing about software development. But if you teach it to me, I'll learn it, and I did. So
And here you are.
and here I am.
That's all.
I'm
That's
all 9 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Infor has had quite a storied past, but it always amazes me when somebody moves out of operations and comes over to what we call the dark side, right? Which is coming to the side of technology and embraces it, because without people that actually know operations and understand it implicitly, uh, without having them, I don't think we develop the software that the market needs. So
Mhm.
I think it's awesome that you're here and that we get to talk to you today. So we are going to do some polling. I think there's a few polling questions. Let's see what we've got to start with. So the first polling question for everybody is, what's the biggest challenge that you face with your current PMS? One, is it limited mobility? Two, is it frustrating user experiences? Three, poor integration with other systems, outdated reporting analytics, high cost to maintain. And then finally, we're actually happy with our current situation. So that's the first poll question, and we'll give people a little bit of time to answer that. Not much time because it's fairly simple. All right, so here's the poll. And right now, currently, we have a lot of people that are happy with their system. That's pretty good. Outdated reporting analytics, high cost to maintain, poor integration with other systems. All right, so it looks like we've got some good responses there. So, and the reporting and analytics appears to be the next thing after everybody's happy. Oh, wait, now it's changing again. So, from that perspective, it definitely looks like it's reporting and analytics. Thank you for your responses. I think we have one more, Emily. Emily's managing this for us, which would be, oh, are we? No, we don't. There we go. Polling question number 2. Which of these PMS capabilities do you think will be most critical over the next 3 years? So we got real-time data analytics, seamless integrations, mobile trends and remote access, cloud-based scalability, AI-driven automation, and intuitive role-based user experience. So that poll question will be coming through in a second. We can get everybody to answer it, and then we'll get into the meat of the conversation. I think I've got Emily scrambling in the back there trying to find it. Okay, well, maybe we'll pop that up a little bit later. So what we'll do is we'll get into the discussion. So Drew, one of the questions I really want to deal with is the big picture. We know that hoteliers are challenged with not only the way people behave in this new world of ours, but also what they expect. But from a technology perspective, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that hoteliers are facing in today's kind of chaotic environment?
So I think it really depends on who you ask. Everyone's challenges are going to be different from property to property, market to market. But I think a lot of it always comes back to this day and age to the technology, outdated technology, and how that affects um, your system and how you can work your business and effectively give a great user or guest experience. Um, I mean, outdated software where you can't integrate to a third party. Um, as much as I would love to sit here and tell you that our PMS is perfect and we have everything that everybody would ever want, we just don't.
Right.
But our ability to integrate with great partners that can provide services that we can't provide at the moment, I think is critical. And outdated, you know, APIs that aren't, you know, I'm gonna say take a lot more work to get up to standard because it's out standard API now because it's outdated. That causes, some difficulties, and that ultimately impacts, guest experience. It impacts revenue. It impacts the efficiency of your business. Um, I think it touches on data and security, having to focus on all the data privacy now, GDPR in the EU, and the CCPA out in California and Virginia and Colorado and the states also have like state specific privacy laws that we have to comply and abide with. Um, there's certain laws in China we have to be in compliant with, and not just how we're handling the data, but how we're storing and where we're storing the data. Uh, Lots of countries have very specific requirements that they can't store. We can't have a cloud-based service outside of their country. It has to be based, in their region. Uh, if you think about the government and the military here, ours would have to be hosted um, in the States. Like we wouldn't be able to go out into another region and host that information because of the compliance laws that we would have to follow. And, you have to stay up to date on that. The technology for that kind of stuff just changes constantly. So if you're having outdated software, it's kind of difficult to stay, in compliance with that stuff. And customers are big on it, very big on it. Um,
Yeah, I think you're right. One of the things some people have answered the poll, and it looks like the biggest challenge that people are facing are seamless integrations. We have, I believe, over 800 integrations to our property management systems, and from that perspective, I think we have a lot, but having a lot doesn't mean that they're all really awesome, right?
yeah,
And when we're talking seamless integrations, and if that's a challenge, how do we fix that and make it better for our customers?
yeah, I think having the strategic partnerships, where we can work closely together and say, these are the vendors that we closely work with. The integration's there. It's solid. If there are enhancements on either side, it's not going to be a problem because we're constantly in communication, and we have a few integrations that are like that. I have lots of calls every week about integrations. That's how big it is. I work with Andre and Pam Vickers a lot. That team of people that just kind of stays on top of, here are all our API messages and they're up to date and they're standardized. And maybe we have to add a field here or a field there. Um, Makes it easier for us to have the strategic partnerships that I look forward to moving towards, so that we can, confidently say, if you go with this partner, the integration there is going to be great. You're not going to see the issues that you might see with another one, or even maybe the lag in getting it up and running because we have to do work on our side or they have to do work on their side to get the messaging right so that they're getting the information that they need.
So, we get all that information, um, and then hopefully people utilize it,
Yeah.
right? And ultimately that's the challenge, right? Is we get the data, but sometimes people don't utilize it. But one of the things we feel is important is a property management system that has the capabilities to manage properties in whatever manner or shape they see fit. And then it boils down to feature and functions. So with HMS, if there was a scale from 0 to 100, and I've made it big, uh, where do you think HMS fits on the feature function requirements for, let's say, the luxury segment or the ultra luxury segment?
Um, I think it's definitely on the higher end of the scale, and we're constantly working towards bringing, newer functionality, um, to be able to accommodate that and provide a full guest experience for, what they need, and not um, sort of designing it in a way that would fit this luxury property, but this luxury property. So it's not specific to this one area, this one region, but keeping in mind that um, we want to provide a feature that helps with guest experience, such as, you know, um, efficiently, blocking rooms, like if that's a thing. Um, Being able to have a profile that you can maintain efficiently so you know what every single guest wants when they come in, and how we can figure out a way to alert the desk quicker and more efficiently about those needs before the guest even gets there. But then designing it so it works in a way for, multiple customers to be able to run their business the way that they need to. That's always a part of the design, that we talk about when we start putting out newer features. And what's going to bring value to a lot of our customers and not a single subset. Because, we where we want to give the luxury section those features, I want that to work for the smaller properties as well, and have that be something that they can utilize. And so it's kind of a win-win when we look at things in that perspective.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when we talked about guest experience and, guest
Mhm.
engagement, probably the best experience I've ever had in my life checking in was at a hotel called the Layla in Trivandrum, southern tip of India. And I got out of my car, walked to the front door. They said hello. They didn't know who I was. But then as they said, let's sit down over here and have a cup of tea. And they brought tea. And as they were doing that, they figured out who I was based upon arrival time, etc. And the check-in process was nothing more than me giving them my passport, which they took away. So that was kind of a little freaky. It was like, oh, there goes my passport. Um, but then they came back and they then took me to my room. There was nothing for me to do other than that. I didn't even sign a reg card. It was like, okay, here we've got you organized. So it wasn't mobile, but it was kinda mobile because of the situation I was in. It was seamless. So when you talk about the mobility capabilities that are required, in order to kind of supply that level of service, what do you think's the next step? We have mobile, lots of
Yeah.
companies have mobile, but what do you think that next step is from a mobile perspective?
Oh, we look at this uh all the time. Because everybody's sort of utilizing it differently. It's interesting to see how people tend to utilize it, from pushing it weeks before guests come to try and get them to do the mobile experience, to be able to push upgrades. So keeping all of that in mind, but I think that like your experience, I think is what I kind of think about the most. How can we utilize the technology in a remote way, um, but still have high touch with the guests? I know a lot of people that I talk to now talk about younger generation and they want contactless like all the time. And I don't necessarily think that that's true. I think we have a younger generation that's brought up with hospitality people, where they see different aspects of the guest experience when we travel. My daughter, especially, she sees it all the time. Like if she goes anywhere with me on business, like she sees a drastic difference on how we check in and how we check out versus if we're just traveling for leisure, and the experience that I don't necessarily demand, but the experience that I want. I want to check in with someone. I want someone to tell me where not where the gym is, because we all know I'm not gonna use the gym, but yeah, where's the restaurant? Where's a coffee shop? Um, why am I traveling to the area that I'm traveling to? In Greenville, it's like we're becoming sort of a weird foodie destination. I'm not really sure how we got there, but now it's like essential to know all the restaurants in downtown Greenville, and it's insane to be able to keep up with it. Um, so being able to maybe have the experience where I can take an iPad with me and I can check you in as I'm walking you upstairs to your room, if that's the experience that you want to have. Maybe my profile says that, like they like to be able to come and have a conversation while they're going to their room, and figuring out that balance and how you can use that remote. connectivity to your front desk to be able to do those kinds of things.
Can we be smart enough to know the fact that if I'm traveling alone, it's most likely business versus when I'm traveling with others, that it's probably leisure?
So I think it's that one's tough. I think it's maybe the market that you're in. So I have a lot of single friends that travel by themselves all the time for pleasure. Um, so it might look like if I'm in a business market, it might look like maybe they're a business traveler, but they're coming for something else. So I think
So what I'm getting to is the personalization only goes so far related to the technology and what the technology can deliver.
yeah, and
Um,
I think that's where, like, if you can build your customer loyalty base. So I have properties in the States, I have properties in Europe. If I can keep my customer base like that, and I travel over to London and my profile is I work for Infor, I'm coming on business, but this time I see, oh, she's added her husband and her daughter, that profile, me having that information would alert me more to the fact that I might be traveling for leisure. Or if I'm traveling maybe on business, but my family wants to do leisure things while I'm working. Um, I think that gives a lot of insight
mhm.
that way. I think that's out the most powerful tool. I know when being at the front desk, if we had a really robust profile from customers that were loyal to coming and staying with us, that was like bang out essential. Like I could create the greatest customer experience just knowing that if I put 3 Diet Cokes in a room, this person was going to love me for the rest of their stay just for 3 drinks that they didn't have to ask for because I know that they like that. Um, I think beyond any kind of AI, like that's the things that like I get excited about. If I can produce that kind of guest experience, man, that makes hospitality worthwhile to me.
Yeah, we had, I think it was Claudio Infante from Margaritaville during our customer days in Las Vegas, where she said that she was traveling on business and obviously she works at Margaritaville and is, mucky muck over there. And when she arrived at a hotel room, there was wine glasses and cheese, and she said if they really knew me, all I wanted was some beers and Doritos, right? So to that point, right, it's not the same for everybody and it's different situations. So personalization still has a ways to go. Let's let's delve right into the product. So when you build HMS, oh, and by the way, if anybody has any questions, please go ahead and feel free to ask them on the Q&A area of the Teams app. We'll be happy to answer them as quickly as we can. But within HMS, how have you architected the product to make it as user-friendly as humanly possible for anybody that comes in contact with the system?
So we have a UX team that we work very closely with. And anybody has met Joyce Paolo from our UX team, God, she is amazing. Um, she does major research. She looks at trends that are happening. She'll interview people. What are you looking for? What's easiest? What are your workflows? How are those workflows differing from customer to customer, and how can we combine those so it's easy for everyone? And then even after we build a prototype, she goes out and does user testing. Is this easy? Is it intuitive? You know, being able to train somebody very quickly at a front desk so that they provide value in a lesser amount of time is essential, right? Because turnover at a front desk can be crazy high. So the easier it is to train someone, almost is if it's easier for them to use, you're probably more likely to retain people at your desk because they're not having to deal with this outdated system that they can't figure out on their own without 3 people trying to help them. Um, and she's really, really passionate about users and the user experience, and she's the biggest advocate. And so when her opinion and her creativity and her ideas weigh very heavily on the designs that we sort of put forth. And feedback. Like she wants the feedback after we get it out there. So if we need to tweak it after we've done it, we'll tweak it. If a button's not in the right place, if we've hidden it and it's not easy to find, and we thought that was going to be, the right way to go with it, but now we know it's not. She'll be like, all right, we have to change it. And okay, so then we'll go back and fix it. Um,
Right.
it, it's not a one and done thing with her. Like if she can always help us make sure that it's going to be a great, not just pretty, but efficient, user friendly, easier to train. Those are some of the top things that we look for. I mean, obviously we want it to look nice too, but um, the efficiency and the ease of use and the consistency across the products, right? Because when we integrate with SCS or sales and catering system, or integrating with our POS system, um, you need the consistency. If you have somebody that works in both your SCS system and your HMS system, if your two buttons that do the same thing look totally different, then it's harder to train into two systems than if it's the same button that does the same exact thing. If I know that button, you don't have to teach me that one, but what's this different side?
Right.
We keep that kind of thing in mind too. So,
So to let people know that are on the webinar, we will be doing a deep dive into the product on June 12th at the same time. So for those of you that are interested, we're actually going to demo the system. We find that people get really interested and ask a lot of questions when they see the system live. So we'll be doing that on June 12th. You'll all be receiving an email just kind of to sign up for that, but it's kind of awesome. So one of the things that also we find interesting, because we have different sizes of clients. We have clients that are huge casinos, and we have clients like one of them we went to a few weeks ago in Maastricht that were staying in a cathedral. So, and they run the gamut of 3,700 rooms to 40.
yep.
So, how are some of the ways that people have utilized the system that you necessarily didn't really think about, but they're doing something innovative with the platform?
Oh, um, geez, I've seen a lot of things. Um, just from see how I would typically think a system would work, because I haven't worked at a hotel for almost 10 years now. So lots of things have changed where, I was like, oh, we would never, we would never do that. And they're like, oh no, we find that, it works if, um, housekeeping can look at, this and this, where, in the past I was like, oh, that would have never happened. Oh, our call center, blocks rooms. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, we assign rooms. And like, no, we would never have done that when I worked at a call center. Y'all are crazy. How do they know? And I'm like,
Right.
because they know the product so well. They know their hotels that well that their call center, who's in a different city, can book and block the rooms for the guests. I think was like that one to me was probably the most like, wow, like I would have never ever assumed that that would have ever have happened. But to have the level of information in the system to provide them to be able to do that, I was like, well, okay. I might take that over here to this other customer that I've been talking to. And we're like, well, they're blocking rooms over here. Like, we can utilize that at your property.
So it's all about interaction, isn't it? And it's all about making sure that we're supporting our clients, because at the end of the day, if we build software, we better support it and service it as best as humanly possible. And I will say the fact that we have an amazing team that does that for us. And they're full of ex hoteliers such as yourself that are helping our clients navigate their way through the system if there are challenges. And with any software, there will be a challenge from time to time. Heck, we all use software on a daily basis that may or may not work. Teams is a good example of it. Some days it's a challenge and some days it's perfect. So, but I think it's really important that the lines of communication are open. So with Joyce in UX, UI, if it's basic stuff of helping people through a different way to manage their business, i.e. a call center into blocking rooms, or if it's just a quick how do you do, I think that's really, really important that we engage with our guests and our clients. So one question I have, and then we're going to probably wrap it up because I want to keep it short and get some people focused on the next one. But one of the questions I have is, In the next version of software, what are some of the cool things that are coming out that you'll be able to show us on June 12th?
Um, we're doing a really cool integration right now with SCS and HMS, where through our single sign-on, you can actually, if your home system is HMS, but you also work in SCS, you don't have to log out of HMS or open up a different browser to log into your SCS environment. From your group booking, you'll be able to just push a button and it will open that group master from SCS for you. You can look at that group master. You can do whatever you need to do. You can close out of the system and be about your way, um, right back in HMS in the group booking screen there. We also did the same linkage for call center into the PMS because, again, with call center, that's the one I find the craziest thing that the things that people will do in a call center now that we would have never thought that they were doing, providing them a way to get into that guest record in a PMS to say do the auto transfer rules and add those on the fly, which I would have never thought a call center would do, um, and functionality that they need. And so instead of making them wait for us to build it and test it and deliver it, we're just going to have a link for them to use if they choose. They can hide it if they want to. We did provide that availability too. But they can just pull that record up in the PMS. They can add their auto transfer rule. They can close it, and they're still in their call center system. They don't have to be in two different screens looking for the record over here. Um, so those types of like new things that are coming that I'm really excited about, and like some small stuff that I get excited about because I'm like, oh my god, if I had that when I was at a desk, that would have been great. People are like, Drew, that's so small. I'm like, no, I think it's amazing.
That's awesome.
I think as we
So
work on our integrations between the systems, like those are the ones that we're getting really excited about.
right, and the other thing I think we'll talk about too is the data and how important data is moving forward. Because from our perspective, you know, if you can capture the data, that's one thing, but the utilization of that data is another. And as we build out our own data lake and as we stream other sources of data into that data lake, we'll be able to go ahead and enable our clients to utilize data in a very proactive manner, dealing with hypotheticals, recommendations, et cetera. And it's not just RMS, it's not just PMS, POS, SCS. There are other feeds of information that we'll be able to use and actually triangulate and deal with hypothetical situations that people wouldn't have necessarily thought about, but they can plan for. So I think that'll be really, really cool when that comes up during the next demo. We have one more polling question, and let's make sure that we get into the final polling question. It is where are you in your PMS modernization journey? One, are you just starting to explore options? Two, actively evaluating solutions. Three, already planning to switch. Four, recently upgraded. Five, not currently considering a change. Or six, I'm just a competitor trying to be sneaky and gain some insight. So let's go ahead and take a look at the responses. So there's a lot of responses for I'm sneaky trying to gain some insight. That's awesome. Starting to explore options, actively evaluating. That's awesome. Recently upgraded, could be one of ours, upgrading from prem to cloud, who knows? From other systems. Yeah, cool. The one thing that we need to wow, that's cool. I think that's really interesting that a lot of people are starting to explore their options. You know, from our perspective, it is an evolution and it's a journey when you're looking at putting a new system in place. And it's a journey that you want a strong partner with, and that's what we endeavor to do here is ensure that we're there for our clients and thus there for the industry. But looks like the number one is really the starting to explore options. Any final thoughts, Drew, about where we're headed or what's next?
Um, I'm excited about where we're headed. just being sort of newly, 6 months into being the product manager here for this system, um, I'm super excited with just talking with you know, if you ever talk in a room with Chen Yao, oh my gosh, I learn so much from him, and
And who is Chen for
he
the
is
audience?
one of our VPs of software development, and he is super smart. Um, and the way that he thinks about our infrastructure and performance and trying to make that better, for our customers is just amazing. So I look forward to more of his ideas and being able to do that. But also just the creativity of all of the directors that I work with and all of my VPs, my upper level executives that are in it. Like I don't think there's one person that's, a level above me that I don't know. I haven't met them. I haven't sat in a room with them already and talked and know them and know how passionate they also are about making sure that our customers are successful and what we need to do to make that happen and having that communication. So I think that just having that support system too from all the way up, you know, to Joe and above, and you, Alan, like, just learning stuff from you every day. Every time I talk to you, I learn something new. It's great. Um, and where we can go and just the thoughts that go through my head about how we can make it better and how can we communicate with the customers more to get their input, because that's the important part of it. It's not what I want the system to do. It's what the customer wants the system to do.
Exactly, 100%. Well, Drew, listen, thank you so much for the time. As I said to people previously, we'll be doing a demonstration of the platform on June 12th. So please mark it in your calendar. It'll be Drew and myself, but Drew will be driving, and I'll be just a passenger watching what we're doing within the platform that's new and innovative and that will affect your business in a beneficial way. Drew Brasso, product manager for HMS, thank you so much for joining us today on the Welcome Mat. And everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. And for those in the United States, enjoy your long weekend. Take care. Thanks, Drew.
Thanks.